Hi there, it's Phil here with another Lunar Display video to help you make your mind up as to whether it's something you want to purchase, something that might be useful to you. And I'm going to talk today about a particular way of using it, and that's called headless mode. Now that might sound a bit strange to the uninitiated, but Lunar Display, which is a device which is really a USB-C dongle made by a company called Astropad, plugs into your USB-C display or Thunderbolt activated USB-C port, and that allows you to then send the display information to another computer. Now primarily what I'm promoting is that sending it to an old iMac is a great way of utilizing your old iMac. A lot of people are thinking of just getting rid of their iMacs, whereas they could with this device be using it as a screen for your M1-M2-M3 series of Mac. It gives you that extra life of a device that's very likely to be working really well. And even if you haven't got an iMac, if you have a look at one of my previous videos, and I'll try and put a link up in the description, you might be able to go off and buy an iMac, a 27-inch or a 5K device, and that will be a very low cost model for you to use as a secondary screen. And the great advantage is that if you're using an iMac that way, you've got the hard drive which you can use as a network drive, so you can save files onto that hard drive, but you've also got the ability to use the USB ports as charging ports, or indeed you could connect another external hard drive to those USB ports on the iMac. So it becomes quite a useful device for you to be able to do that, because it's really giving you a multi-featured monitor which is made by Apple, and the quality of them is superb, especially in the 5K arena, which is what I've recently discovered is such a good screen. There's really no reason to throw it in the bin, and you can get them for a very low cost now on the second-hand market, and I think it's well worth doing. What we're going to look at now is using this device in what we call headless mode. So let me try and explain what that is by going to the Lunar Display website and just letting that help us through the chat. So headless mode, this is the Lunar Display website. So if I just scroll down, you'll be able to see that Lunar displays many modes. And the particular mode I'm going to talk about, headless mode, is not my favorite mode of using it. My favorite mode is using it from computer to Mac. So essentially that way you've got an additional screen on your main M series Mac, and then you've got a secondary screen which is likely to be your iMac, just as you might kind of just about make out in this little scene here. Here's your iMac, and here would be your main Mac. Now that main Mac might be a MacMini, a MacStudio, or even another one of the M series iMacs. You can extend the screen and have it as a secondary screen just by using an old iMac. I originally was using a 2013 model iMac which only ran Catalina. I'm now on a 2015 one which runs Monterey as the latest operating system, but you can go all the way up to some of the latest Macs if you want to. Ideally it's a way of using your old Mac to do that. Okay, so what we're going to talk about again is what we call headless mode, and you'll see in this little picture here that you've got a computer. This is showing a Mac Mini, as it says in there, and it says it allows you to use your Mac or your iPad as the main display for your Mac Mini and Mac Pro. Well, they haven't really updated it because it could be for your MacStudio. At the moment, as I speak, we don't have a 27-inch iMac available right now. So let's have a look and see what we're actually talking about. So we're really just talking about using a single display on one of your new Macs that doesn't essentially have a screen. A MacBook definitely has a screen already, and you'd be using that then as a secondary screen. But a lot of the new Macs now are sold just as a box, and using your iMac as a screen might just be a way that you want to go for a short period of time, at least to try it out. So this is headless display mode with lunar display. So headless mode, as I've already explained, is using just your iMac with a non-screen based Mac. So you're going to be using your iMac as the single screen. You need this device, the lunar display, and the headless mode features here that are listed. The ones that are listed here are support for the iPad. Really what we're going to be looking at is using it as support for a iMac instead. One of the most important things that you need to know is that an external monitor is required for the initial setup. So you will have to somehow find a way of getting a screen connected to your new M series Mac so that you can do the initial setup. And it says when setting up headless mode, we recommend connecting an external keyboard or mouse, etc., to your MacMini or your MacStudio, okay? Because that is what we call the primary Mac in this situation. And on the primary Mac, you're going to download a piece of software called the Lunar Primary app. You can get that now from the same website. So follow the link in the description, go to the website, go to the bottom of the whole screen, go to the downloads, and you can download the primary app. You won't be able to use it until you've actually got a hold of the dongle, but at least it's there on your Mac ready for you to use once you have bought it. You need to then turn off File Vault, and you then need to go into the system preferences, users and groups, and login options. And there you are able to turn on what we call automatic login. Now this is going to be required because essentially your main Mac is going to turn on, log itself in, and then connect to your iMac. That's the way it works. The iMac runs a piece of software called Lunar Secondary, and Lunar Secondary takes over the whole screen. So it's through Lunar Secondary that you're going to be able to control your main Mac. If you go into System Settings, now remember that this is macOS Sonoma. If you want to automatically log you in, you go down into the login password. If you've got an Apple Watch, that's a useful way of automatically logging in as well. So you could put that in, automatically log in after a restart. And it says a login password has been set for this user. But if you go to users and groups, so remember this is in the system settings, just here it says automatically log in and your name would be there. So in my situation, I've got off, which would mean that I would have to use a password to log in, or if I automatically log in when it's me and I'm the only user on the system, then Phil Binks is obviously who I am and how that would automatically log me in. And so that's that way of allowing that to work for you. Right, so let's go back to the web page and see if we can see where else there is anything that is needed. We set up automatic login, follow the instructions on this website. We won't be using the iPad for this situation. In terms of connectivity, we're talking about connecting your devices. You can have them on the same Wi-Fi network. That's really, in my opinion, not the best way to connect when you're using headless mode. You really want to get a cable-based connection. There's two options available to you. One is that you can use an Ethernet cable, so they're connected to your router. So you connect your Ethernet cable to your router from your main new M series Mac. That'll have an Ethernet port on there. And your iMac also has an Ethernet port that you can connect directly to the router. You can alternatively connect the two devices using a Ethernet cable, just connect them together. But there's a little bit of setup required for that. The other alternative way is to use a cable which has a USB-C port on one end and a USB-A port on the other. I've got a cable just like that here. So the USB-A port is this old one, and you'd connect that into your iMac, the old iMac, and you connect the USB-C port. So that's your USB-C cable, and that will connect into the USB-C port of your M series Mac. Now, that USB-C port needs to support display protocol. The one way of being sure of that is to make sure you plug it into a Thunderbolt port. There is a little D signal on some of the USB ports that shows that they support DisplayPort protocol. It won't work if you are plugging it directly into a basic USB-C port. So be careful and be aware of that. Now, the great thing about Lunar Display, this device, is that it does support 5K. Okay, so let's go back to the web page once more. And what we would be doing then is, so we connect the devices as I've just explained, and then you need to open both of the apps. You launch the Lunar Display primary app, which is the one that's running on your new M series Mac without a screen, and you launch the secondary app, load it and launch it onto your old iMac, and it will run on Catalina, Ventura, Monterey, any of those operating systems. You can just launch the Lunar Display secondary app. Again, as I say, that's downloadable free from this Lunar Display website. The link is in the description if you want to go there and do that. Once you have everything set up, you would then go and disconnect the monitor. That's the monitor that you're using to set it up in the first place. So once you've got that all set up, you can then essentially just use the iMac as your main screen. But there are a couple of caveats for this. And let me just show you how this works in my situation at the moment. And I'm only really running it this way for this demonstration. I would typically run two screens. One of the primary problems is turning off the Mac, because again, what we're really doing is using the iMac as a main screen, but we're using the main Mac, the M1 series new Mac that you've got, to control everything, and we need to somehow be able to turn off both. The way that you would do that, and I'll see if I can kind of try and show you that on here, click on the Apple menu and click on sleep, and that would then sleep your main Mac. As it sleeps your main Mac, this screen here will just turn black and go into a connected to a Lunar Display screen, which then says if you want to press escape, you can then get out and then get back into your normal old operating system of the iMac. But that is effectively then slept your main Macintosh, your primary Mac. One of the other things about this is that you can use the mouse from your brand new Mac, or you can use the mouse, which looks exactly the same, from your iMac, because both of them will control the cursor on the screen. I don't know whether you'll see the cursor there moving around on the screen. That's with this mouse. But then if I bring this other mouse into play, you'll see that that moves around on the screen as well. So you've got the opportunity of using either, and that's true for the keyboard as well. So I'm hoping that that will give you a little bit of a clue as to how things might work for you. Let's just go back to the web page here. You can see the app downloads are just available here at the bottom of the screen, so you can get that for yourself. One of the other great things about this situation is that you can use your old iMac and its hard drive. Often these devices were supplied with a full 1 terabyte or even larger hard drives. So the advantage of being able to use a hard drive is fantastic as well. So, and of course all of the ports, as I said earlier, are available on the back of the screen. Now, the monitor that I'm using right now is a 5K monitor. So now I'm on my 5K screen. I'm actually only recording this for YouTube in 2K. You'll be able to see that the screen is responding really quickly and really nicely for us. And you can see that I can scroll up and down very happily. So, you know, it works very nicely. you know, that's really what we're looking at, and it works really nicely in this situation. Now, video, realistically, just to be totally clear with you, Luna Display is probably not the ideal piece of software when you're trying to play lots of video. Probably the thing to do then is make sure that you're running a different screen, because the refresh rate will probably be a little bit faster than Luna Display will allow you to have. There are some settings that Luna Display does have for you. What we can see here is that in the Luna Display settings, you can see that I've got both devices connected via Ethernet, and that's automatically found that that's the case. Even though I'm only using it on a single screen, it says, do you want the screen to be left or right of your original primary screen? So it says left, and I've got Retina resolution enabled here. But there are some other settings that I'd like to bring to the fore just here. And it says basically in Mac to Mac mode, which is the way we're using it here, I've got connect via Ethernet only, because that's now the way that I am connecting. I recommend that really strongly, especially if you can cable both of your Macs to your router. It's really a great way of doing it. But you could connect via Thunderbolt only. That means, as I say, connecting USB-C Thunderbolt basically to your USB-A port on a iMac. But that would then show up in this screen here. It would actually say USB connection. And the other options are, it says allow any network interface, and that's by default. And if I click on that, nothing will change here, because it's looking at the fastest possible way of linking the devices. The last thing I want to tell you is that if you are wanting to shut down, then you would go to here and you would shut down, and make sure that you've got the settings properly on the screen so that you would be automatically logged in. So I hope you've found that useful. If there's any questions regarding that, please let me know. As I say, primarily I would use a secondary screen instead, so use your iMac. You can use your 5K iMac as the primary screen, but still have a secondary screen plugged in, because you will find that every now and then you'll have to go and plug one in, because maybe the system hasn't restarted properly and you need to do a little bit of maintenance work on it. So that's my preferred way of using it, but hopefully that will give you a bit of a heads up regarding how to use this software in headless mode. Thanks for watching. If you watch some of the other videos, I'll put links in at the end of this video so that you can go and have a look at Luna Display options as well. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.